Yo, welcome into the BeBall Jones podcast. The goal of this podcast in my business is to bridge the gap, to fuel hoop dreams into impactful realities on the court and beyond. So thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoy it. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome in for the episode. And today I have a food genius here. This woman knows her food. She knows her meals. And we're going to talk about food today. So this might be my most favorite episode ever in the history of my recording because we're talking about food. Like basketball's cool, but food, like it's tough. It's tough. So welcome in, Miss Kyndall. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm excited. We're talking about food, so I'm amazing right now. I feel amazing right now. So where
Love
did
it.
this love for food come from for you? Because it's pretty unique to describe it that way, but that's what we're doing here.
Absolutely. I don't know. I'd say my love for food, my dad's a big foodie. So kind of maybe started there. And then in terms of like the path I got into turning it into a career, I got pretty into health and fitness myself in high school. I loved group fitness. I loved playing sports. I'm not great at them, but I was a cheerleader, right? So I'm biggest cheerleader for sports. I would try everything.
Mhm.
Um, so I got pretty into just health and fitness overall, and then started cooking, getting in the kitchen, went off to college, had to learn how to cook for myself. So I think food is just something that can really connect people. Everybody eats, right? So
Mhm.
it's a really common ground for a lot of people. And it makes my job so much fun because everybody eats. Everybody has favorites, likes, dislikes. There's always something to talk about when it comes to nutrition.
Mm. What's your favorite thing about food? I sound like a real fat person here. But what's your favorite
No,
thing
not at
about food?
all. My favorite thing about food, how tasty it is.
I don't know.
um, I think it's like just maybe trying new recipes. I'm pretty into like the fall recipes right now. I'm actually in the kitchen, have some homemade tomato soup on the stove and just
Mm.
trying different recipes from all over. And I love when a recipe has a story behind it. So, like,
Mm.
someone's grandma passed this recipe down from their grandma. I love that. Um, in terms of like sports nutrition side, I just love how nutrition can make such a difference and you really
Mhm.
don't think it can. But oh my gosh, seeing athletes go from really struggling to changing one thing, like eating lunch and like excelling on the field, that is like my favorite part of that aspect when it comes to food.
Okay, explain that. What's the difference that you've seen from the before and after?
So, a good example that kind of always comes to mind for me is I had a D1 soccer athlete and she was a 90-minute player. And she kind of pulled me aside one day in the weight room, was just, I'm so tired. I have no energy. I don't know what's wrong, essentially. Went through what we call a recall. So just walk me through what you ate yesterday. And so busy in the middle of the day, right? Like most athletes are,
Mhm.
and wasn't eating anything before practice in the afternoon. So
Mm.
was going a long time during the day without any fuel from food, without any real energy, and
Mhm.
then trying to, go full at practice and was just hitting that wall a lot sooner than she knew her potential was. So added in a simple little lunch and a couple days later she was like, "Wow, I'm feeling so much better." Who would have thought that that's what the missing link was? And it's a lot of things that I feel like 9 times out of 10 someone's like, "I know I need to do this,
Mhm.
but I don't know why I'm not doing it." And that's where I can come in and be your coach, right? Like sometimes you know what you need to do on the field or you know what you need to do in the gym or at practice, but the coach is there to guide you along and to help you define that craft. So
Mhm.
that's kind of what my role is as a sports dietitian, is just reminding, encouraging, and coaching from the food side of things.
Mm. So, what's the difference between a dietitian and a nutritionist?
I love this question. So, a registered dietitian it's a protected title. So, you
Mhm,
have to go get a 4-year college degree in what's called dietetics. So, it's the study, right, of like diet, nutrition, a lot
mhm,
of science. I didn't know that getting into it. So much chemistry, food science, but really awesome knowledge to have now. And then you have to now it's required to have your master's degree. I got mine anyway because I knew that was kind of coming down the pipeline. And then you have to
mhm,
do 1,200 practicum hours. So, kind of like a nurse or a doctor does rotations in a hospital. We do some similar like that, but then we also have community nutrition. I got to do sports nutrition rotation because that's the path that I took.
mhm,
So you're doing so much schooling, and then you have to take a national board exam before you can pass and get your registration. The term nutritionist just isn't regulated. So technically, I'm a nutritionist, a dietitian nutritionist,
mhm,
but anyone can be a nutritionist or a self proclaimed nutritionist. There are other degrees out there that can kind of take you along that path, but there's just no regulation around it. So someone might have some schooling in it, or they're just, Google dietitian or Google nutritionist, if you will, forming their own opinions on nutrition, which everybody eats. So everyone has an opinion.
mhm,
And, doing your own research is really popular these days, which is awesome. But we do just have such an extensive schooling background, not only in the science, but also we take counseling. We take it in the undergrad level as well as in our master's. So
mhm,
we learn that, although the science says this, you have to meet the person with where they're at and coach
mhm,
them and guide them into behavior change, which a lot of maybe self proclaimed nutritionists don't necessarily have that skill or knowledge yet. So, big difference there on paper, but it's a title that I'm very proud to have. And we also have requirements for continuing education. So research is always changing, right? Like what was healthy 20 years ago, maybe not so healthy now, right?
mhm,
Oh my gosh, there's this really funny diet that will come up every once in a while in my Instagram feed. And it was like the housewives diet of like the 50s. And it was like a glass of wine for breakfast, like 3 ounces of chicken for lunch, and like a glass of wine for dinner. Like that was promoted as healthy at some point in time. So things are always changing and evolving, but we're required to continue to learn and log hours, as opposed to someone who maybe doesn't continue to learn and grow in this field.
mm. So no shade to them over there, the self-proclaimed ones, but you
Mhm.
just know, what you know because you've been to school. You have a whole resume that says, "Hey guys, I know what I'm talking about here," basically.
Yeah, and I do not by any means claim to know everything out there. There's
Mhm,
a lot out there. Things are changing so fast in our field, but I have the knowledge to read research, think critically when things come out. I really walk the line on a lot of nutrition hot topics because if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
mhm,
So any extreme claims in terms of nutrition, to me, that's just a big red flag. And I think that's a really important skill to have that we learn in school that not everyone gets that before they're telling other people things about nutrition.
mm. Okay, so let's go there. What is like a most recent thing that you found out or that you've kind of heard about? And it's like, well, guys, this might not be as true as we thought it was, or I know you guys think this is the greatest fad to get into, but maybe you should not do that. What's the most recent thing or biggest thing that most recent times?
Sure. One that comes to mind because it's so popular online, I'm sure you've gotten an ad for this at some point, is the greens powders.
Mm-hmm,
So they're super popular supplement. There's one or two companies in particular that are developed by online influencers, which is fine and dandy. But a big red flag for me was those companies got so big so fast. So, where are they sourcing all these greens from? And there have been some testing of these products that have come back with high levels of heavy metals in the
mm-hmm,
greens because they're kind of just sourcing from maybe not the best places to continue to pump out this product. So, that's something that's a flag for me. Also, in terms of why are we taking something? Are you taking it because you just never eat any fruits and vegetables? Do you not like them? Are we just hopping on it because of trend? It's not really a one for one. Like I'm going to take this powder and I never have to eat fruits and vegetables again, right? So
Mm,
any supplement should be in addition to what you're already doing. So that one for me has definitely been something. Of course, it looks good on paper, right? Like get your
mhm,
fruits and veggies in like just a powder. But at the
mhm,
end of the day, where is it coming from? What's behind the company? Is it being regulated? Is it being third party tested? Um, and then also, why are you taking it? Um, I'll have to think on if I have another one comes to mind. That's my most recent one.
mm. Okay, so let's start there. The supplements thing is kind of a big thing within athletics. Is you need to get your protein powder, you need to take your fish
Mhm.
oils and all these vitamins and all these things. And what is the understanding of how to take supplements and what do we take? How many do we take? How do we understand the role of supplements in our meals and our nutrition?
It's a great question because, right, it is really prominent in the athletic space. Typically, what I start with is I have this awesome image. I might have to send it to you, but it's potato chips plus like a bunch of pills doesn't equal like a balanced diet. So, trying to just take a ton of supplements without having a really good foundation of your nutrition, you're not going to really get the benefits, all the benefits from it. So, that's kind
Mhm,
of step one, setting a really good foundation with your nutrition. And then, just like the word is, supplement, it's meant to supplement your pretty balanced diet already. The second thing I like to really harp on is that the supplement industry is unregulated. It is just the wild, wild west. I don't know why. Maybe in my generation, I'll see some sort of change with the supplement industry, but anything that has a supplement facts label on it, no one is double checking that what's in that product is what's actually on the label and vice versa. Like what's on the label is like exactly what's in the product. So
mhm,
for athletes, especially at like the D1 pro level where they are getting drug tested, you want to make sure that anything you're taking is third party tested for contaminants, for possible something that could pop you on a drug test. But also, like at that point, we just want to make sure that what we're putting into our body is quality, right? It's coming from a quality factory. It's what it says that it is that we're taking. So, third
mhm,
party testing is the other really big one for me in terms of products. I also need to like update this reference, but there was a quarterback at the University of Florida back when I was in college who had a protein powder from GNC. Someone gave him or encouraged him to buy, and it was contaminated. And then he failed a drug test and lost eligibility.
mhm,
So it does happen. It's very rare, but I think even more so in this newer age of like influencers are so big, social media purchasing things. It's so easy to like see something and click it and buy it from your phone. That almost makes it, I think, even a little bit more dangerous. So I just always really encourage, there's three that I really look at. It's NSF certified for sport, Informed Sport certified, and BCSG certified drug free. So not only are they testing for drugs, maybe if you're in a sport that doesn't get drug tested or a school or a level division that doesn't get drug tested, I still say go for it because it's just making sure you're taking a quality product. Um,
mhm,
and everything that's in there is what's on there. Off of that, there's a couple supplements that I usually recommend, or at least they're kind of considered the top dogs in sports nutrition field. So the first one is protein powder, really
mhm,
because it's convenient. So like a ready to drink shake or even a powder that you can throw into a blender bottle and have after practice or after a workout is just really convenient. It's not necessary, but it is really readily available, and it can really help you meet your protein needs for the day. Athletes do have higher protein needs than their non athlete friends. So that's just a really convenient one. I know you mentioned fish oils. So
mhm,
any idea on your end why we would maybe suggest fish oils?
So I don't remember exactly what's in the fish,
Hmm.
but the amount of fish we would have to eat is a lot, and nobody eats that much fish. So fish oils is, like you said, a supplement to add into it. So
Yeah,
um, I don't remember
especially if
exactly
you're
why.
especially if you're someone that doesn't like fish or doesn't eat it. If you have an allergy, that's something different.
Hmm.
But if you don't eat a ton of fish, I mean, it's kind of pricey these days as
Hmm.
well. I mean, but like supplement also might be pricey. But it could just be, again, like appropriate time to supplement if we're not eating a ton of it. But we know that there are a lot of benefits from it. So the molecule that we're looking for in the fish oils is what's called omega-3 fatty acids. And
Hmm.
there's really good research with omega-3 fatty acids turning on the anti-inflammatory pathway in your body. So good for, reducing muscle soreness. There's some more recent research with concussion protocol, and taking that like proactively, also like if you're coming back from a concussion, good for heart health as well. So that's a great one. If you're eating, fish 2-3 times a week, I don't think it's completely necessary, but it is
Hmm.
definitely like a top one for sure. Again, like want to make sure it's a quality fish source that you're getting. Um, Another big one is creatine, right? Male athletes, I'm sure you've seen it or heard of it. I think it can get a little confusing because it can really help you put on weight or muscle mass. So it maybe gets labeled in like the steroid category. It's not a steroid, it's an
Yeah.
amino acid. So we do get it from food, from protein sources. But when it
Hmm.
comes to creatine putting on weight, I always tell my male athletes this is that if you're taking it without eating enough food to actually put on muscle mass, it's just like having the cherry without the rest of the sundae. Like it's not a magic pill.
Hmm.
It's not going to just put on a crazy amount of muscle for you. You still have to be eating enough, eating in a calorie surplus for your body to build up your muscle. So what creatine is doing is it's actually just giving your muscles a little bit of extra energy. So that way you can work out a little bit harder to see those gains in like strength and power, and putting on muscle mass. So just kind of, it's important to know why you're taking something, what the why is behind it, so that you are taking it correctly.
Hmm.
There's one more I would say is probably maybe one or two. But I usually don't just willy nilly suggest them. These are ones that if you're getting like a yearly physical, getting your levels tested is important. But vitamin D and iron, really great research out with vitamin D levels impacting performance for athletes, especially athletes that are indoor athletes. So if we're mostly playing basketball indoors, we do synthesize vitamin D in our skin. So if we're not
Hmm.
outside as much, right, we're getting into the winter months, not as much sun exposure. So vitamin
Hmm.
D also good for bone health, performance, muscle health, but also on your mood. So like seasonal depression stuff, it's
Yeah.
can definitely help with that. So I usually have my athletes at least getting their levels tested once a year. You can ask for it on your physical because if you take too much of it, it can also have negative effects on you. So that's one that is really big in the sports nutrition world, but you just have to be careful with it. And then
Hmm.
iron. So iron um, in your blood, right? If our iron levels are too low, we can feel really fatigued. So that's also important to get your levels tested before touching a supplement there because too much, again, can cause some negative side effects, but really important for performance.
Hey, hold on. Time out real quick. We're gonna get back to the episode. I know you're enjoying it. I know you're enjoying the show. But I need you to help me real quick and to make sure that this episode can grow, make sure this podcast and show can grow overall, and you can keep getting great guests like this. Make sure that you subscribe and follow along. So if you watch right now on YouTube, help me out by hitting the subscribe button. Go ahead and do it real quick. If you're listening in your car, chill out for a second. If you're on Apple or on Spotify, just like when you get a moment, hit the follow button, but not right now while you're driving. If you're working out or something, or you chilling in your room, then go ahead and subscribe with me. Like, help you, okay? But thank you for watching. I really appreciate you. I'm gonna stop interrupting. Let's get back to the episode. Thank you. So how do you, let's say for whatever reason you don't go get tested or whatever, and you just get the supplements. You hit like you only hear part of the interview. You just like, well, I'm gonna get some supplements, or you do a little research and I'm gonna get some supplements. How do you know if you're taking too much? Like, what is like the thing to look out for to make sure you're not doing too much?
I would say starting with a multivitamin that has pretty like low levels of all of those across the board would be a good bet instead of taking each thing individually, which is usually a higher dose. So you could start with a
Mhm,
multivitamin that had a good amount of these things. There's ones you can find with D, iron, omega 3s in them.
mhm,
You can also kind of look out for, are we feeling nauseous? Stomach upset is a big one with taking too much. If your performance is tanking it anyway, or feeling lethargic, feeling sick,
mhm,
those would all be reasons to maybe back off of anything that you're trying. And really following the label instructions, you can start with a half dose and go from there. You can do every other day. I'd say it's kind of rare that I get athletes that are really good about taking their supplements every single day, which is where we see the most benefit. Um, so it really just depends on the athlete, but you can try going every other day um, until you're just kind of seeing how your body's reacting to something.
mm. Okay. Have you ever seen like a weird reaction? It's like something you just surprised about seeing.
Um, I wouldn't say weird. I'd maybe just say sometimes you just don't notice it right away,
Hmm.
whereas other athletes might feel it really fast because everyone's body's just different and how you metabolize things. So, beta alanine, have you heard of that before?
Yeah.
It's usually in pre-workout. It's what gives you that tingly
Hmm.
itch of the pre-workout that some people like. Some people hate it because they feel too much of it.
Hmm.
But there's an amino acid that is stimulating your itch receptors. So some people really feel it a lot more than others, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't take that." Um, and I have supplement companies send me stuff all the time. And there's one I have that usually I take it like an hour, 45 minutes before a workout. And I took it. And then like 3 hours later, I felt it like way after my workout. I was like, what's going on here? I'm not at the gym anymore. Um,
Hmm.
so everyone reacts differently. Even products are different, not always comparable. So,
Hmm.
kind of just like with your food, with supplements, I usually suggest trying it away from a game day at least. Kind of like we practice before we go straight to a game or a tournament. We want to
Hmm.
practice our food, practice our supplements in like a safe environment. I wouldn't take something new right before practice, maybe, or like right before a game, just because might not sit in our stomach so well. So
Hmm.
practicing it like maybe on an off day first and then maybe before practice, before taking anything like right directly before a game is also another like safe way to ease into things.
Mm. So, okay. I had a friend. We used to go work out and stuff, and we would take pre-workout.
Mhm.
And so sometimes we didn't have like a bottle we can necessarily, pour it into. So we just dry scoop it. Is that okay to do? Because we used to do that a lot of times. I just want to know.
I wouldn't recommend it as a practitioner. I think there's just a risk for choking. Inhaling
Mm,
a dry powder like that. I think some people can also accidentally inhale some of it into their lungs. Like I've definitely seen a lot of people either in person, like outside my gym, or online who like are immediately coughing afterwards and you're inhaling some of it into your lungs. So I don't think we know effects of that long term if you were doing that for a long period of time, right?
mhm.
Anything in our lungs that's not supposed to be there, I don't think is great for us long term. So that's just something to consider. I mean, if you're chasing it with water and you're drinking it down, that's a different story. But I would say my
Yeah.
biggest concern would be one, choking on some like a large amount of something dry, and then two, the inhaling the powder.
Yeah, we didn't just like take the powder by itself and just like leave it there. We weren't crazy. Like we had some level of sense to us,
Okay.
but we just wouldn't be able like to shake it up or whatever because
Mhm.
maybe we were sharing the ball or something, and so we didn't want to,
Mm.
whatever. So I didn't have my water, but he had his, so we just got out waterfall it, dry scoop it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then go from
I
there.
would go like a little liquid, like under your, make a little bowl in your mouth, and then like
Hmm.
a little powder, swallow that, and maybe like the second half or something.
Okay, okay. Just making sure we ain't like, start being hyper or something in our 60s when we just like overdose on dry powder or something. I don't know. So you just put my heart at ease a little bit. So thank you.
Yeah.
What about what was it? What was it? The energy drinks and stuff.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts around those? Because that's a very popular thing, especially for like when we were growing up. We took a little bit here and there, but it's
Mhm.
like kids come in the gym days and they're like drinking monsters and everything. I'm just like, I don't
Yeah,
know. So I'm asking you, what is the whole thought process around the energy drinks?
I love it. This is also a really good one and a really popular one. I've done a couple talks with some high school teams, and this is like their number one question. Usually, when I see athletes drinking an energy drink, it's after school before a practice. And first and foremost, an energy drink isn't actually giving you energy. It's caffeine, which is a stimulant. So it's giving like a false sense of alertness. We really only get energy from food. So I typically see this replacement of a snack or a meal with caffeine, with an energy drink. So we're kind of just losing out on that fuel that's going to help us through that practice. And we're replacing it. I mean, caffeine can definitely help performance, but
Hmm.
again, it's a supplement. So, in addition to actual food. So are we skipping food and then we're going for caffeine? That's usually like my first thing I usually see. Shouldn't be a replacement. If you're someone that's like really dragging after school, or before like a later practice or something for a later game, I would encourage you to have some sort of snack first and see how that really helps your energy levels. The second thing is like the monsters, the Alani News, the Celsius. Oh my gosh, Celsius just came out with another one that's like even more caffeine. They like saw all the dietitians online being like, this is too much. And then they were like, we'll raise you 100 more milligrams. I was like, oh my gosh. Um, the, and you work mostly with, is it high school?
Yeah.
So for under 18 years old, the recommendation is actually less than 100 milligrams per day of caffeine. And all of those I just mentioned have 200 or more milligrams. And
Mm,
I could probably bet some people are drinking more than one a day
yep.
that are listening, or some of your athletes that you have. So that's a lot of caffeine. There have been a couple of cases of youth athletes, even just kids in general, who have ended up in the hospital from drinking too much, because it can affect your heart, right? It's a stimulant, it's stimulating your nervous system. It can increase your heart rate, which can cause stress on your heart. So, got to be careful with how much caffeine we're also intaking. Um, I know you mentioned like when we were a little bit younger and when energy drinks started to get popular, I feel like all the parents that were around me and my friends, Red Bull was the big one, and
Yeah.
it got really demonized. Red Bull actually pivoted into sports nutrition research, and their regular Red Bull cans, they actually do third party testing on them. It's the only caffeine drink that does that I
Mm,
know of. And their like regular sized can is only 80 milligrams
mm,
versus a Celsius or a Monster that's 200. So when working with athletes, when working especially with youth athletes, you got to meet someone where they're at. If my athlete is drinking 2 energy drinks a day, I know they're probably not going to cut it cold turkey. I'm
mhm.
realistic. I've been a teenager a little bit ago. So I understand that too. So if we can replace with something that's a little bit better, a little bit safer, could that be something you would be open to trying? That would be a suggestion of mine.
Mm,
Um, but yeah, there's just kind of so much going on there again too. Like why are we drinking it? How much are we drinking? Are we eating enough food? And then, it's just unregulated also out there. Um, those are my thoughts on it. I mean, they're tasty. I've tried them. That's totally fine. The fruit
Mhm,
on the Celsius can doesn't actually give you a serving of fruit. False. It doesn't mean that it's healthy just because there's fruit on there. Um, so you just got to be mindful of like your overall intake and like what is your goal here. Caffeine, kind of like I mentioned, can help with performance, right? It can kind of give us more of a perception of alertness, might decrease our perception of fatigue and pain. So if you're wanting to dabble in that, again, remember for youth um, athletes, non-athletes anyway, under 18, it's less than 100 milligrams a day. So maybe
mhm,
that's just an iced coffee. Maybe that's an iced tea. Maybe that's something that's a little bit more food grade instead of an energy drink that has so much in it. And also pair that with a snack.
mhm. You mentioned the heart issue with the energy drinks and stuff, and I don't remember how long ago. I think it was during the summer. Bronny James had a whole situation with his heart. Of course, we don't know the full details of what happened. They probably won't ever release the full thing what happened until years later. But would you say that possibly could be a thing that played a factor in that?
It could be. I don't know him or like his history, but an event like that could be caused by overconsumption of caffeine or pre
Mhm,
workout that has extra stimulants in it, or like a combination of excessive caffeine amounts. So, kind of like I said, they're unregulated. No one's double checking that that's how much caffeine is in that can, or even
mhm,
like in those pre workout powders. It usually will say bigger flag for like dietitians is a proprietary blend. And it's like 8 different ingredients, and it's just listing like vague amounts of each of them. No one's double checking that that's how much is actually in that product. So, for example, maybe someone is, dry scooping a couple extra scoops before a game of a product that says it's maybe 100 milligrams, but maybe it's actually a little bit more. And they could be someone that's sensitive to caffeine. So there's
mm,
also different genetic variants that I don't know if you know someone that maybe can't drink coffee because they get too wired. So everyone metabolizes it a little differently. So if you were maybe a slow metabolizer of caffeine and you get really, really anxious and your heart pounds with like half a cup of coffee, if you don't know that yet because you're still young and you take a pre workout that someone else gave you, it could lead to some sort of cardiac event like that.
that makes so much sense. And I think that plus the whole ADH ADHD thing going around with everybody thinking their kid is ADHD and everybody being diagnosed with it doesn't help out either because parents are giving the kids coffee at like 8 years old. So he's sitting out with grandma in the kitchen drinking coffee, uh, just enjoying his Sunday morning with her, watching news or cartoon, whatever. And then the next day you going out with dad and you got a Red Bull with him, and or after school you going to the game and having Red Bull. And we don't think about how much caffeine we're consuming. So that makes so much sense of like, dang, that's crazy. We are not healthy. That is crazy.
And with when it comes to caffeine too, you can develop a tolerance to it. So if
Mm,
you're drinking, an energy drink every day, and then oh, I drank it, but I didn't really feel anything. I'm going to grab another one. We can build up a tolerance to it, and we need more and more each time we drink it. So if you're
mhm.
developing that now at a young age, come college, like you're gonna need like an IV of caffeine to stay awake.
Yeah.
So also being mindful, I think of that, if you're someone that's really dependent on it, trying to take a break on off days, on weekends. If you just like really like the taste of it, maybe doing like a decaf coffee, just like have that, I know it's people still go to Starbucks, right? There's like craft coffee all over by me, but there's still a Starbucks in every corner. If you just like
Mhm.
the like taste of a fun festive drink, trying to maybe get decaf coffee in it to still like have that placebo effect of the fun drink,
Mhm.
maybe without so much of the caffeine and giving yourself a little break from it.
Okay, this is the last one about that. This is selfishly for me.
Yeah.
So I don't drink energy drinks and any of this stuff very often. It's very like worst case scenario type of thing. But the one I used to drink was Bang.
Okay.
You know about that one?
Hmm.
Okay, tell me about that. Am I like in danger of damaging myself?
I'm actually not familiar with how much caffeine is in a can. Do you remember?
No, I'm not sure. Let's
Let's
do a
look it
quick
up.
little, yeah.
What was your favorite flavor?
Cotton candy is probably number one.
Cotton candy.
Yeah, that
Let's
might have been my
see.
favorite. Or like the mango one. Like anything with mango is probably like my go-to favorite of anything. It's just mango's probably the undefeated goat of flavors for me.
Okay, here's a label. Caffeine content.
All right, I found one.
I'm seeing 300 milligrams,
Oh man.
which is a lot. To compare, one cup of coffee is usually around like 70 milligrams.
Mm,
If you were drinking this every day, I would say maybe not every day.
hmm.
But again, everyone's different. The other
That
thing
is
with
crazy.
Bang, this was in the news not too long ago. Let me see when it was. Bang Energy lawsuit. Monster sued Bang Energy. What year was it? I'm only seeing more recent stuff. But they had a label on their can and it said super creatine. Do you remember that? Like, oh, it has creatine in
Yeah,
it.
I
There
remember that.
actually was virtually no creatine in that drink because no
Wow.
one was double checking what was in it, is what was, on the label. So, since, Monster is their big competitor, I guess they sued them for their super creatine and now they got that banned. But yeah, crazy.
Man, I was
It's
drinking that. I feel
supplements are the
ashamed of
wild, wild
myself.
west, honestly. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't drink those heavy. It'll have to be like really I'm waking up and I try to do like I'm a big fan of natural like everything,
Mhm.
So supplements are cool, but I prefer like I don't drink coffee. I've never been like a coffee person. I don't really do a lot of energy drinks. I'm just like
Mhm.
dying and dead. I can't wake up. Then I'll like, all right, let me go grab one real quick. Or I know I got a long drive and I'm gonna be tired or whatever. Then I'll kind of take one. So guess I'm staying away from bangs for now.
You
Thank you.
can you
Appreciate
can
this.
also get caffeine in iced tea. It's like a black tea or like a green tea. You get it in soda, like a Coke or
Mhm.
like a Diet Coke. There's caffeine in that too. If you're not a coffee drinker, I don't know if you've heard of this trend is pretty popular now, is like mushroom blends. So
Never heard of
there's
that.
some the one drink I can think of, there's Four Sigmatic is the brand and they do like a mushroom coffee, but it's not really coffee. Or mud water. It's like a coffee alternative. And mushrooms, there's newer research on it, different types of mushrooms, like lion's mane. It's the only one I can think of right now off the top of my head. They act as adaptogens. So they're
Mhm.
kind of helping our brain a little bit to wake up, more of like a natural caffeine. So that could be something you could look into.
Hmm. I have to look into it because you do have those days where you have to wake up early and stay up late, and it's just like I don't know how I'm gonna survive. And I love to get naps in, and I
Okay.
can't get naps as much as I want to because you're in adult land and we're not allowed to do naps for whatever reason. I think that's silly.
Mhm.
But I do love my naps, so
I know
when I can,
we need to adapt to the. I know they do it in Spain where you just like take a siesta in the middle of the day. Like the whole towns will shut down at like 2 to 2 to 4 p.m. Everyone just goes home and takes a nap.
mm, that would be great. I
Right?
think that's yeah.
We need to
You
get
know
on board
how
with
much
that.
more productive we would be if we could take naps?
Hmm. So much more. on the side of it.
Mhm.
So that's a really easy way, I think, to also find balance is once we start demonizing food, and there's so many people online that do it for why? Leave people alone.
Mhm.
Um, once we
It's a lot. It's a lot of game in there. But if that's not you, it's not your feeling, you don't want to do it in the comments, go to her. Follow her on social media. I'm gonna drop it below. Just on Instagram. What's your handle on there?
The Athlete Dietitian. So on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah, so go show her love on there. Let her
Come
know
hang
how
out.
great she was. You know, get a couple more followers. Show her some love.
Thanks,
Let her
guys.
know.
Yeah,
Let her
and
know she was great.
tag me in your performance plate meals. I want to see them. I want to see what you're eating before practice.
Yeah, bruh. Tag her, like, put in your story, tag her, like, hey, correct me. Let me go put a little game in here. Maybe she'll do it. I don't know. I put a little pressure on her, just like publicly throwing it out there. So now she has to do it.
Yep.
I help you guys out some more. So just do that. Help her, tag her. Don't tag me because I don't know. I'm gonna just like tag her if you tag me. So you might as well just tag her and not tag me.
I love it. So fun. It'll be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. But we'll follow her, show her some love, say thank you for coming out and giving so much game. You can follow me on social media as well. It's BeBall Jones. That's BeBall Jones. I'm on all this stuff. Just type me in and I'll pop up more than likely. If not, then it's not my fault. It's your fault. I don't know what you did wrong. And if you're on YouTube right now, subscribe. Show some love by just subscribing.
Yeah,
I
subscribe.
bring great people like this on. It's like right there, wherever it's at, somewhere at the bottom. Just subscribe. Show some love. Just say thank you by subscribing. You ain't got to tell me you subscribing. You telling me thank you. That's all you got to do, because you want to miss the next person to have that gives you that level of game in their field. So don't miss out on it. If you're on Spotify or Apple, same thing. Subscribe. Follow along to this journey, to this. You're like the BeBall Jones family now because you listen to the podcast. So you got to subscribe to like be initiated. That's your initiation process to like get along with all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Oh, every Friday, got this thing called Hoop Gems. It's a mindset piece. Give you little mental how-tos. Change your perspective on different things. I might do a nutrition one now since I got you on here.
Hey.
I might. Okay,
Yeah.
you just gave me something I gotta do around
There we
that. So
go.
I'm thinking about that now. Yeah, just some mental how-tos, a little motivation, a little inspiration to get you throughout your life, throughout your day. So you guys need to tune into that. It's pretty cool. I drop some like call it hoop gems for a reason. There's some cold bars I give in there, man. Y'all are missing out because you're not listening. So go listen to that. And progress is on the go. Throw that in there. Keep being great. Keep being wonderful. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. It truly means a lot. Thank you, Miss Kyndall, again for sharing your time with us. And that's it, guys. See you next week.
Thank you.